It has to hurt to heal. I received that message, that wisdom, after completing Danielle Paige's The Pluto Path Masterclass. And I wanted to share with you some of the insight that I received from going through that experience and that journey for myself. Now, I'm not going to share with you the astrology or what Danielle taught specifically because I think that's her gift and certainly not mine. I am a relative newbie to astrology and how to access it and utilize it in our life. But human to human, I do think there was something extraordinary that happened for me in going through this experience. And that message, it has to hurt to heal. I mean, even right now, it almost brings tears to my eyes because that is a truth that I have avoided for a very long time. What this masterclass offered me was some insight into Pluto placement in my birth chart and how that's influencing my journey here in this lifetime. And, all I really knew about Pluto was it was associated with death. And so even the idea of taking the master class, initially I felt like I was trying to avoid it, is really what I was doing. And I'm part of Danielle's Cosmic Body Collective, which is her membership. So I get this. I was getting a lot of the messages about it's coming out, it's being offered. I was getting it and I was really, really avoiding it. And finally I listened to the inkling inside of me. Sometimes I can be a very spontaneous person and do things on highs and lows. I've learned from my human design that's not what I'm here to do. And so I really listened to my intuition when I chose to do this. And even as I was doing it, I was like, did I make the wrong decision? And no, I didn't make the wrong decision. Um, so what I learned from this experience are the places within our soul's journey here and now that we are really here to transform. And what came out of this was an awareness around spaces in my life that I really avoided because there was so much shame and regret in my past behaviors. And what I realized was this was informing every action of my life and how I saw myself in the world. It was like this lens, this I don't know, this like mirrored sunglass view of the world that I had where what was reflecting back to me in the world around me was actually just this internal state of feeling a deep sense of um, a lack of internal value. And what that looked like for me was a great deal of self-abandonment in my life. And specifically, it looked like this in my relationships. It looked like this in my career. It looked like this in my finances. Um, this idea of really abandoning my own truth to feel seen and loved and valued. And when I looked back on my life with this new opportunity to explore it through the lens of what it was teaching me and perhaps where my greatest transformation could lie in this life, those moments that brought the deepest level of shame that would, wake me up in the middle of the night and roll around in my head and I couldn't get it out of my body, but I just would push it down because it was just too intense and I didn't want to face that was a part of who I was. And now it shows me, oh my gosh, all of those moments, I just abandoned my true self. I abandoned any sense of feeling valued and worthy just as I am. And it's intense. It's really intense. And at the same time, it has given me a gift because I'm no longer afraid to look at the parts of me that hurt. Instead, I see those parts of me, they had to happen. It had to happen. I had to, for me personally, on my journey, grow up in an environment that did not teach me my intrinsic value, that my value was not based on who liked me or who didn't like me. My value was not based on how big my bank account was. My value was not placed on the family that I came from. Um, and I could go on and on and on about all the different ways that I was seeking validation of value from an external source. I didn't learn in my younger years that all of everything that made me valuable in this world is I was born with all of that. It's inside of me. And this experience that I had taking this masterclass guided me to the depths, to the darkness, to the things that I was avoiding, the things that I didn't want to admit to myself, let alone speak out loud. And what it offered me, though, was this new perspective that it had to happen. It had to happen that way because I'm actually here to transform that. That hurt had to occur so deeply and so intensely because I'm actually here for the opposite of that. I am actually here for the opposite of that. And for me, that looks very much like learning to love and honor my true self and to stand in the grounded, magnetic vibrancy of who she is. And what a gift. So I thought I would share this because if you're still here, and you're still listening to this, there's something about this that it's resonating with you. And I do think it is important that we share our stories and not just our wins, not just our celebrations, although that is so valuable in this world today. We need to share our wins and our celebrations, but also the truth of our struggle, because it's the struggle, it's the hurts, it's the traumas, it's the wounds that when we have the courage, the support, and the safety to explore those things within ourselves, we then have the ability for true growth and transformation. And oftentimes it's those spaces that are going to offer us greater transformation than we can possibly imagine. And I'm only dipping my toes in the waters of this experience at this point in time. And I know, and I see all of the connections now. I see all of the connections in my life right here, right now. This is a pivotal moment for me, and this had to be presented to me right now. And I'm grateful for that. It's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable, and I'm still processing. I'm still doing a lot of work with my nervous system to feel safe, but also at the same time, oh my gosh, I look back on my past self and those moments of regret and those moments that induced so much shame. And now that I have the wisdom of being older, and I think also for me being a mother, I look back on that past version of myself and I just want to love her. I don't want to ignore her. I don't want her to be ignored any longer. I want her to know that those experiences in her life, they feel so hard and so ugly and so uncomfortable. And yet she is worthy of love. And I see her right here, right now. And it does not change her value. It does not change her value. And I notice now that by me suppressing and avoiding, confronting these things or even being witness to these things in my life is suppressing parts of myself and not truly revealing myself, not standing in my truth. I'm not grounded in my truth at all if I'm avoiding parts of me that are actually true, part of my lived experience. So there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of freedom in that. There's a lot of discomfort in that, but also a lot of freedom and a lot of opportunity. And that's how I'm looking at this. There is an opportunity that is being presented to me right now, and it is an opportunity for significant transformation and growth. And oh, by the way, it just so happens to be in total alignment with things that I am actively pursuing and creating in my life right now. Wow, isn't that strange? What a coincidence. No, it's perfection. It's perfect timing. And I'm grateful for that. And I just keep saying, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when I feel it. Ugh, I feel it. But at the same time, that discomfort that I feel here is also where I felt the truth of me. The truth of me through this experience, I actually got to really embody her. And she felt, and I've said this, she felt grounded and vibrant and magnetic. And oh my gosh, it feels so much better than trying to prove myself to other people or abandoning myself so that someone else would see me and someone else would love me and someone else would value me. And I think that the other part of this gift is that I can then offer all of this to my daughter. We are going to make mistakes in this lifetime, and those mistakes are, I think, almost divinely orchestrated. I had to make those mistakes in order to experience the growth. I had to. They had to happen. And so are they really mistakes? I guess that's an opinion piece. Maybe it's not a mistake. Maybe it was divinely orchestrated because we had to have the hurt. I had to have those specific hurts in order to heal. And in the healing, I get to step into this greater level of transformation for myself. And if you're looking for maybe a metaphor, maybe the things that I'm saying aren't totally resonating, but you're kind of like, something is there. So prior to having my daughter, I considered myself physically a very capable woman. I mean, I considered myself very strong, athletic, capable of, almost any physical challenge that someone would put in front of me. I felt very capable of going, okay, I'll give it a whirl. Let me see what I can do. How much weight can I push? How many pull-ups can I do? What sports can I try? All of those things, that's a part of who I was. And since having my daughter, there's this like really deceptive thing that has happened, which has been this messaging that's came from somewhere. I'm still exploring this, but it came from somewhere and it's definitely internal now. And it's telling me that I'm weak and that I can't. And what it has looked like is when I go to do the things that I did previously, I'm holding back. And when I do try to push myself, I notice that I'm getting like injured and stuff, which I never really experienced before. I've had injuries in my life, but nothing like this, these like nagging injuries that won't go away. And so I now have this new awareness because a couple of weeks ago, I pulled my hamstring playing a sport, and there's a lot of frustration because I'm not playing sports to the level that I am used to. I'm used to telling my body go and it goes, and it just keeps going. I'm not the most talented out there, but what my body can do is like, just go, 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 go. I love that. I love that about my body. I loved that about my body. And so I injured a hamstring, and it was the first time I couldn't push through and just keep playing. I literally couldn't. I couldn't generate any power off my one leg at all. I couldn't do anything above a hobble. And I'm very fortunate because we brought a new member into the health clinic team, an athletic therapist, and I have an incredible physiotherapist. And the athletic therapist that I met with, it was the first time I met with him, and he explained to me that, his whole goal is to build my body back stronger so that I can perform at the same level, if not better than before. And it was the first time since having my daughter that someone reminded me that that was possible. And I went, wait a minute, let's not just do the hamstring. Like, what other parts of my body have I got imbalances now that are having like minor injuries and different things like that? And how can, instead of just resigning myself to feeling like I'm getting older, my body's run down, the last few years have been really physically demanding in its own way, and I'm just kind of resigned to this is part of aging, which is not really what I want. It's not what I want in my life. And so this idea of I can look at the injury, we can look at the wound, and we can soften in the approach initially, but then we're going to build it back, and we're going to build it back stronger, and we're going to build it back stronger in a way that your performance is met, if not exceeded. And that's how I look at this experience of going into the dark, wounded parts of myself that I wasn't willing to look at because all I was doing was deceiving myself and playing small and resigning myself to this mediocre way of existing based on a perspective that I had of myself that was rooted in shame. And I will be the first person to tell anyone else in my field, you did not come here to live a life rooted in the perspective of shame or fear or doubt or any of those things. You came here to be the light that you are. And sometimes, maybe not even sometimes, I've definitely missed that mark with myself. And that was something that, looking at the wound, looking at injuries, what I'm realizing is without that hurt, without that pain, without that thing that's holding you back, without that, and without listening to the call inside of yourself that says, I want more out of life. I know I'm meant to have more in my life. I know that I'm physically meant to keep going and loving my body. And I do believe that I am in a really gifted time physically right now where women are learning that we can be strong and healthy and fit and vibrant well into our 70s and 80s. We absolutely can. We absolutely can. I saw a video the other day of a woman who turned 102 and did a 5-minute plank, and she rocked that thing. So we're in a time right now where your 40s, your 50s, your 60s doesn't have to mean decline. And I have that call inside of me that I want to be vibrant for the second half of my life. I definitely want to be vibrant. And I also have that call inside of me that says, I want to step into my light, not just for myself, but because I know that I'm here to serve my daughter in a bigger way. And I know that I'm here to contribute to helping people experience freedom and thriving in their own lives. And this other thing came up to me, which is you cannot become the master unless you first allow yourself to be the student. And so these areas that I have experienced shame and wounds and traumas in my life, I now know that it is an opportunity for me to become a student of those things and then create the embodied transformation so that I can then become the master of what does it mean to look at these dark places of ourselves? What does it mean, and how do we actually look at them and feel safe to look at those things, feel supported to look at those things, create actions and beliefs and a new embodied way of being that allows you to rise, that allows you to rise in your light. And by me choosing to walk this path for myself, I'm not saying in this lifetime that I'm going to become a master at that, but all I need to do is be 1 or 2 steps ahead of that next person who I can then hold their hand and say, I'm 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. Let me offer this to you. Let me offer this wisdom to you. Let me hold this space for you until you're there. And then for me, I believe that I'm meant to be a catalyst in this world, which means an ignition switch for others, maybe a moment or a season of your life. I'm here to offer that support. But then you are here to go and shine and do your own thing. You don't need me for the rest of your life unless we choose that for each other, which I love too. But that's what I'm learning about myself is first become the student. So become the student of the darkness. And this master class, rather than avoiding it now, I have this new lens that's like, oh my gosh, the darkness, those spaces that I'm avoiding, the spaces that make me feel really uncomfortable about myself. What if that's where I'm actually supposed to shine? And how do you even go from, avoiding those parts of yourself to embracing them, to healing them to such a degree that they become your beauty and your strength? That's an exciting journey. And that's the one that I'm all in for. So I thought I would share that with you today as a little bit of a different way to deliver the podcast, because I think it is important that we share our stories. And it is important because Some of you may resonate on some level and not really be sure why with what I'm saying. Some of you may go, tell me more about this Danielle Paige person. And then that was my job. My job was to connect you to Danielle Paige. Some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, Sarah, like there's something about you. I feel really safe and supported. How can I explore this with you? And some of you might go, I think you're full of shit, Sarah. And that's okay too. That's okay too. Because I no longer have to abandon myself to feel seen and loved and valued. I am learning to love and honor and stand in my truth. And I'm deeply grateful for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you.